Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Sil and this is part 5 of the series The Best Way to Learn English. Now in part 4, in the last video, I talked about vocabulary and I gave you some reasons why studying from a dictionary or word lists that's a bad way to learn new vocabulary in your target language, in this case, English. So what is the best way? What is the right way to learn new vocabulary? Because, of course, you need vocabulary, you need a lot of vocabulary. If you want to speak at the level of an educated native speaker, you'll probably need something like 20 or 25,000 words. That's a lot of words, and you need to learn all of them before you can really have great conversations, deep conversations about a variety of topics. Now, if you know 5,000 words, you could probably get along quite well in your day-to-day activities, but you may not really have enough vocabulary to have very, very meaningful conversations with ease. So, vocabulary is very important. You need to learn a lot of words, and you need to learn those words the right way. So, the best way is read and listen to real English. Now, what I mean by this is don't study English that is meant to teach you English. For example, textbooks or dictionaries or word lists or even English lessons. Now those, dictionaries and word lists are a terrible way to learn English. You can learn some English from examples in textbooks and in English lessons, but the best way to learn your vocabulary is by reading and listening to real English. That means English that native speakers use with other native speakers. So, for example, if you have the chance to listen to two native speakers talking, then you should do that. If you can talk a little bit and be part of the conversation, that's great. But for getting the new vocabulary, you have to listen and you have to read. So if you have a chance to listen to that, or for example, my news videos, where I speak slowly and I use easy English, that's a good way to learn new vocabulary as well. So you should watch as many of those news videos as you can and increase your input as much as you can to get as much vocabulary as possible. Reading is another good way to learn vocabulary. Although with reading it's difficult to get the pronunciation correct sometimes, but still it's a good way to get the words, and then you can pick up the pronunciation later if you have to. So what to read? Well, you could read magazines, newspapers, novels, blogs on the internet. Another great way to learn vocabulary is, for example, going to shopping websites where you have all the categories listed on one side. For example, if you go to Sears.com and you look at the items, you'll see they'll have, automotive, housewares, clothes, etc. And you can look through all of the items and look at what they're called. And in this case, you don't need a dictionary at all because there's a picture provided for you. So that's a great way of learning new vocabulary. You can try going to IKEA.com for furniture, AutoZone.com for auto parts. You could do a search on Google for anything, really. Do a search for shopping clothes online, shopping auto parts online, shopping furniture online, shopping electronics online. If you do a search, you will get many results giving you some great websites to go and learn many words of items that people use daily. So that's one good way to learn a lot of words and increase your vocabulary. Now, why is this the best way? Well, these are the reasons that I had in part 4 to tell you why learning from a dictionary was a bad thing. So now I'm going to tell you how this is one method that solves all of these problems. Number one, if you're reading English on a blog that was written last week or even last year or even 5 years ago, this English is probably in use today and people are using this English. So if people are using these words on a blog, probably these words or most of these words are being used by everyone and they are current. So you're not going to waste time learning outdated words or even words that are not really outdated but that nobody uses. You're going to be learning words that people use. Of course, it also depends on the material. So be careful. If you're reading newspapers, newspapers have a certain style. Okay, so if you only read newspapers, then you're going to sound like a newspaper when you talk. If you read only magazines, that also has a certain style. So it's good to read a... I dropped my marker. There it is. It's good to read a... I dropped it again. Oh my God. All right. Never again. All right. If you read a wide variety of sources, newspapers, magazines, blogs, watch TV, TV shows, dramas, suspense, comedy, watch the news. If you're getting your English from many sources, then you will also learn the different styles of English that people use. Okay, number 2, sometimes there's no good word in L2, in the target language, and it sounds forced. But if you're listening to native English speakers, for example, the word okonomiyaki in Japanese, and if you're hearing native speakers talk about okonomiyaki, you'll see that they don't call it Japanese pizza, they don't call it a Japanese pancake, they call it okonomiyaki. So you know that in English you can use the word okonomiyaki. Now, by the way, okonomiyaki is not a very popular food in the West. Actually, it's not popular at all. So many people don't know what it means and they will probably have to explain it. But some examples of words that are used abroad in the West is, for example, sushi. People didn't know what sushi was when it was first introduced, but now everybody knows what sushi is. Other things like udon in Japanese, but udon in English, that's another thing that has gained popularity recently, and a lot more people know what that is today than 30, 40 years ago. So some words become used or start to get used in the target language. You'll see by listening to native speakers, you'll understand how they're using the words that they use. And so if they're using English words to describe something in Japanese, then you'll know what those words are. If they are using the Japanese word straight, then you'll know that you can use the Japanese word. Or whatever language is your native language, it doesn't matter. Number 3, the L2 word choice depends on context. So for example, oshieru in Japanese, they'll use the word oshieru for tell me your phone number, or give me your phone number, or also teach me English, or teach me how to dunk a basketball. And they'll use the same word. Now this word often means, or is often translated to teach in English, but there are cases where we don't use the word teach, we might use the word tell. Or sometimes, for example, with the phone number, we don't even use the word tell most of the time. We just say, can you give me your phone number? Or can I have your phone number? So a student, a Japanese student who has never heard that, has never seen a situation where one person is asking another person for a phone number, they'll never imagine to say, give me your phone number, or can I have your phone number? They will always be thinking, oshiru, oshiru. That means teach. So, oh, could you teach me your phone number? That's the only thing that they'll ever really think of. And it will be wrong or very, very unnatural. So, of course, by listening to real English, then you can learn how native speakers express themselves. By listening to someone ask another person for a phone number, you'll know they're not saying, can you teach me your phone number? But they will say, tell me your phone number. Can I have your phone number? Can I get your phone number? Can you give me your phone number? There's many ways to ask the same question, but none of them use the word teach. So that's a great way of learning which words to choose. Number 4, 2 words with the same meaning, but depending on the situation, you might use a different word. So for example, mom and mother. By watching a lot of TV, for example, or watching a lot of people, like native speakers, speaking, you'll get a sense. You'll learn that mother is used in some cases, mom is used in other cases, and you will start to feel when is best by getting a lot of experience. Another example, like yes and yeah. You know, when I'm speaking with my friends, I use yeah a lot. In an interview, I use yes. Or in a very formal situation, I would use yes. So again, depending on the situation, even though yes and yeah mean exactly the same thing, I will use those words differently. Number 5, you can't pick up the style of a language if you're always looking at dictionaries. But by listening to a lot of English, you'll hear that everybody uses the active voice as much as possible. John hit Jack, not Jack was hit by John. Now, occasionally, Jack was hit by John. Sometimes we use that, but it's rare. And so by listening to a lot of English, you'll understand this. Number 6, word for word translations are often wrong. So, for example, a Japanese student who says something in English like kawaii, in English would be scary. They might want to say that because in Japanese it's just one word, kawaii, that means scary or I'm scared. But by listening to the English, they'll never hear somebody say scared. They'll hear I'm scared or that's scary. So again, by listening and by reading, you can pick up how native speakers talk, and there are many points to think about here. So by getting all of your vocabulary, by listening to and by reading natural English between native speakers. Now again, if you're reading a book, you're not listening, you're reading, but that book is for native speakers. It's not for learning English. It's not a textbook. It's not a dictionary. It's a book that's written for native speakers. So just remember one thing. If the material, okay, the book, the TV show, the movie, if that material is interesting enough that even in your own language you would like to read it or watch it, then that is great. That is a wonderful way to learn your new vocabulary. And also it will help with your grammar and your vocabulary, your pronunciation. Anyway, I will come back to this, but I just wanted to focus on the best way to learn vocabulary and why. If you focus on reading and listening to real English, then this is the best way to learn because you don't have these problems. These problems are very, very common if you are doing all of your vocabulary studying with a dictionary or with a word list. So stop the word lists and focus on getting your vocabulary from natural English. Now, of course, it's okay to hear a word, a new word, or to read a new word and look in the dictionary. But what you want is you want to look in the dictionary for L2, so in your case that's English, okay, translated to your language, okay? And remember that sometimes there are often differences, sometimes there are often differences in the way those words are used and everything. So just remember you want to study this, but always remember that the way they're used, the situations they're used in, etc., all that is different. So you're going to learn that by listening to and by reading natural English. So this is okay, L2 to L1. Looking up an English word to find out what it means in your language, that's okay. But L1 to L2, try not to do that very often, okay? That's not a good way of learning English. If you have to, you need to communicate something, you have no idea how to say it, it's okay. Say it, use a dictionary, say it. It will probably be wrong, or it might be right too, but often it will be wrong. That's okay. If you're communicating, no problem. But try to get most of your vocabulary from the input that you're getting. Anyway, that's it. So I hope that you understand why this is best, and if you have any questions, please go ahead, leave a question in the comments for me, and I will try to answer as quickly as I can. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to click the like button. And also, if you think that some of your friends or family, if they're studying English and they might like this video too, please share it and tell others about my videos and my channel. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.